We are making pattern 5, pattern 6, and pattern 7 is our fun fold. Check this out. It folds flat to fit in your envelope. Hello everyone, this is the card making pattern class for July. I love doing these. I love doing these classes. I hope you're enjoying them. I hope you're collecting your patterns. We are creating a whole library of patterns. They are just a fantastic resource for card making. Just like a sewing pattern, you have the basic idea and all of the measurements, but then you plug in your own fabric for if you're sewing. But for card making, you're going to plug in your own colors, your cardstocks, your stamps, and whatever. They're going to just go with everything. So then you just start creating just a whole library of patterns. So when you go down to make a card and you have no idea what to make, you can just flip through, grab a pattern that strikes your fancy that day, and then grab some supplies to make a quick and easy card. Now, I do have a written tutorial available, but you can get all of the measurements for free in this class. So just start and stop the video. If you miss any of the measurements, you'll be able to pick them all up to create the pattern, and then just let your creativity go crazy in creating the cards. I am going to show you a bunch of examples just to like spark your creativity. I was so excited. I think I totally forgot to say hi, welcome. If you're new, I'm Julie Baca. This is sunnydaystamping.com, and I put out a new video every Thursday. So let's get started. Pattern 5 is really quite straightforward. It just has a lot of layers, which gives it a really nice weight to it. So you're going to take a card base, which is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4 to make your card. But when you're making your patterns, there's no reason to waste that paper. So you're just going to use this as a representation, which is the front of the card. And so to make just the pattern 5.5 by 4 1/4. But when you go to make your card, you're obviously going to want to fold it in half and use the measurement here. The next layer is 5 1/4 by 4. Layer 2 is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. That gives that really thin border around there. And then to just make it interesting, this layer is very small, 2.5 by 4. Then you're going to cut out a circle from a punch or a die set. I use the Stylish Shapes, and that is a 2 1/4 inch circle. But you're going to, for one of my examples, I don't use a circle at all. And then for your greeting, I do give you a measurement. It's 3/4 inch by 3 1/4. But you can just stamp a sentiment and slice it down. That measurement does not really matter. Now, on the first two pages of the tutorial are these cutouts. So, and those are the measurements. So you can write the measurements on the card, or you can cut these out. And if you layer them together and put them in your paper trimmer, through the guide of your paper trimmer, line up those dotted lines and then slice. It's going to slice both sides at once. And so we'll cut this way. Now you can separate it, and we'll get pattern 5 out of here. And we're going to glue that directly on the back of our pattern. That way, when we pull this out of the box, because we want to make a card like this one, we don't even have to look up the tutorial if we're coming up with an idea of our own. The measurements will all be right there. But if you need to reference the tutorial, the pattern number is there, and you can look it up on your computer. Now, for each simple pattern, I created 3 cards to demonstrate the 3 ways that you can adjust this card just very easily for the products that you have. 1 is to make it with cardstock. 2, to create the layers with embossing, and 3, just to use patterned paper. So here is the cardstock card. You can see I did not use a circle at all. I just used an image, a cutout image to create that. For the embossed card, I used the bird's eye view. Is that not adorable? These little birds, oh my gosh, they get me. I also embossed the envelope flap. I didn't run the envelope through the embosser. I used a piece of paper and then embossed it and glued it on the flap. Lastly, making one out of designer series paper, and decorated the envelope with the designer series paper. This one opens more traditionally like this. I've got a couple of tips to share with you for pattern 6. So we're going to use our card base representation of 5.5 by 4.25. And now these strips, they are all 1.25 by 3.75. Now you can, if you're using like one piece of designer series paper or a whole scene that you want to break apart, you can make a square of 3.75 by 3.75 and then just slice it up. This last piece is 1 3/8 by 4. Now, here is a tip for you. When you go to add all these pieces so that, you don't have two that are really far apart and are really close together and one that's far apart, you want them evenly spaced. I found the easiest way is to add this piece first. And you're just going to make sure it's equidistant with the margin of the card base on the 3 sides. Next, you're going to lay these in and make it so it looks great before you glue it, like test it so that you can kind of move these around. Now you're going to take your middle one out and glue that one down first because that's going to be your anchor. Then it's going to be very easy to glue these pieces in place. Now these tips are not just for making the card pattern. You're going to want to use these tips when you go to make your cards. And now you just need a little circle. Any cutout will do you can put your greeting on there or a picture in there, whatever, and just to kind of anchor this design. Well, and this is going to be your focal point also. Now, before you put this in your collection, make sure to add the printout or write the measurements on the card base. And I'm going to do that right now and take my own advice because I will forget. Okay, there we go. So for the first example, I did that tip of keeping a 3 3/4 inch square. I created this scene with stamps and then I sliced it up. And I also made the card base open this way just to make it different. All right, I got this. I do have favorites. This is my favorite card that I made with this pattern. So I did the same thing, 3 3/4 inch square, stamped and embossed, and then cut it up. And then here is the inside of this one. So you can see with these patterns, you don't have to make them exactly. You can rotate them to fit what you have. And in here, instead of stamping a greeting, I kind of used the sand dollar as that circular image. The last card just used designer series paper and I didn't use a circle at all. I just used a different die set so you can really, okay, I did put circles on the inside and I used the scraps of the designer series paper because you guys know I hate to waste paper. All right, now my absolute favorite. I am a sucker for a fun fold and this is obviously going to be a little more complicated because it's a fun fold, but you are not going to believe how easy this is. All right, so let me get my measurements out. Oh, you guys can't see that yet. That's my sneak peek. Okay, so now you are going to take a piece that is 9 3/8 by 4.25. If you need like a refresher on eighths, I have a video that can help you out and a download, a free download. Speaking of free, these tutorials that you can purchase them if you want, but if you place a $50 order with me in July and use my host code, this is my free gift to my customers. So, okay. Take your 9 3/8 by 4.25 and we are going to score it at lots of places. Okay, so hold your horses and no, strap in. Wait, what is the whatever, you may have to rewind. Okay, 3/8. The easiest way for me to find 3/8 is to go to the half and then go back 2 spaces. Okay, 3/8. Now 1 3/8. 2 7/8, 2 7/8. So that's way out here. And then one more is 3 7/8. All right, so that's the main card base. Let's continue to score. And this is going to be the front piece. So we've got 5 1/8 by 3.5. And we're going to score that at 3/8 and 1 3/8. And if I did all that right, this is going to work. If not, we'll do it again. All right, so I've got tips for putting this together, but go ahead and just burnish along all those score lines, just making them nice and crisp. You may want to go back and forth if you need to. And then we'll do this one. It doesn't really matter which way you fold it. I'll show you exactly how to do it. You know what? I'm getting ahead of myself because you do want to cut the pieces for the front, because as soon as you make the base, you need to put the front pieces on before you add this foldy thing. Do you like my technical terms? So let's go ahead and cut this. Now I have two options for you. One, and I'm going to give you all the measurements for these dark pieces, but also I'm going to show you how to cut it from all one piece, because maybe you want this to be designer series paper and you want it to cut from all one piece. So I've got a trick for that, but let me go ahead and give you these measurements first. So on the left here, the layer left is 4 inches by 1¼ then this front piece is 3¼ by 3½. And it's just slightly different, but when you put your piece on there, you're going to notice if it is rotated the wrong way. And then this back piece you can see is larger, and that one is 3¾ by 4. And then if you want to put a piece on the back, you would do 5¼ by 4. All right, so let me show you the trick for cutting that all out of one piece. So you're going to take an 8½ by 4 inch piece of paper, and you are going to put it with the long side on the top. You're going to cut it at 3½. This piece is going to go on the front, but we're going to have to trim it down. So we're going to just hold that off to the side. The next piece is 3¾ So this piece goes on the back. This is the 3¾ by 4 inch piece. So we'll just put that right there so I don't mix it up with that other one. That is going to leave you with a 1¼ inch by 4, which is what you need for the front. So that is so easy. So now we've got that first piece that we cut that we reserved. You're going to put the 4 inch, the long side up at the top, and you're going to trim that down to 3¼ So now you're going to have a piece that is 3¼ by 3½ for the front of your thing. Okay, so now go ahead and grab your card base back out. Now you can see this little 3/8 little strip that we did. That is where you're going to put just a thin line of glue. If you can get your glue to come out. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now here is the trick. Instead of trying to mess with that thing, go ahead and just fold it in along this second score line. So if this is the first, this is the second. Now we're going to fold it completely like that along that last score line and just rub it in place. And now check out what happens. You're going to have perfect placement. You're going to pop this up and you've got that rectangular tube that we're trying to create. Now this is when you are going to put your panels on like this and like this. Glue those puppies in place. So now you've got this piece of the front piece left over, and that is where you are going to glue this on. Now, the trick to attaching this piece is we're going to put glue right here. And then we're going to fold this in on the second score line so that all we see is this front piece. And you see the glue just there on that panel. You're going to close your card and center this up on the dark panels there. Just center it up and hold it down. And so now that is going to be centered. But now we need to glue this down, right? So we're going to open this up and we're going to put glue just right here because all we need is enough glue to stick it on this panel. So go ahead and close that and then close this and hold it in place, and you're going to get perfect placement. Just like that. Actually, that is not perfect. Hold up. What happened? What happened? Why aren't you square? Why aren't you square? You guys, I totally cut this in the wrong size. So I said the right words, I said the right measurements, and I scored it. I gave you the right scoring measurements, but I initially cut that wrong. So we're going to use my first example, and you see how it's all nice and square. Go ahead and pop your measurements on there, and I did give that optional cutting it all from one piece measurements right on there. Put that right on the back of your pattern, And let me show you the example. So check this out. I told you at the beginning of the video that this folds up into an envelope. Is that not so cool? And then the recipient just pops this up and it stands up on its own on somebody's desk. You can put beautiful designer series paper back there. You can decorate the front. Isn't that awesome? Okay, and then you can do that 5 1/4 by 4 inch piece on the back to add a little something on the back if you want to write some words. If you'd like the step-by-step tutorial on how to make all of these cards, it is available for purchase, or you get it free with a $50 order using my host code in July 2024. But you saw that you can make all of the patterns, you have all of the measurements to use to figure out how to make your own cards. I'll see you next Thursday for my new video and the first Thursday of every month for my next card making pattern class. Thank you so much for watching. Have a sunny day.